I was able to destroy 5 total bastions as a solo raider, giving me an incredible 22,312 points on Dam Battlegrounds during an electromagnetic storm. This general strategy can also be applied to a night raid on the same map or even on Spaceport with the same events, but also including Cold Snap. Having options to do this challenge is super important here because there are a lot of raiders out there trying to do this challenge. For your equipment, I recommend bringing an anvil upgraded to level 2 and 4 to 5 stacks of ammo. Then pack as many explosives as you can, prioritizing deadlines and trailblazers. There are a lot of ways to take out a bastion, but one of the easiest and most reliable is using deadlines, which can be bought from Apollo once per day. You can assume one deadline equals one bastion elimination as long as you place it correctly on top of the bastion. If you don't, it won't actually take it out and you'll end up needing a second deadline or a handful of other explosives to get the job done. Trailblazers can be bought from Apollo once per day. They come in stacks of 3 and they also deal massive damage to bastions. For your augment, Survivor MK3 is great, or something else you prefer that lets you use at least a medium shield. Pack a lot of healing and shielding items and at least 5 adrenaline shots. I recommend trying to queue into the map when there's only a couple of minutes left in the actual electromagnetic storm event. Reducing the total player pool you'll be dealing with can make the difference between having to share damage with other raiders or getting it all to yourself. As a solo raider, the more damage is shared with other players, the less trials points you're rewarded, so keep that in mind. Once you spawn in, you'll want to immediately head for one of 2 bastions on the map. One spawns under the pipeline tower, but can also spawn on the actual ground between power generation and pipeline tower. The other spawns anywhere within the hydrodomes. Once you find your first bastion, find an area of safety, then scan the area for drones, particularly hornets. Eliminate any small flyers in the area that could aggro to you once you start the fight with Bastion. Keep in mind that while you're in the hydrodomes, hornets are everywhere all the time. They can sneak up on you and wreak havoc on your entire run, so take them out as a priority. Once it's clear, if Bastion isn't already aggro to you, hit it once with your anvil to pull it towards you. You'll want to wait until it gets as close as possible to you, then target the yellow joints on one of its legs. Focus all your anvil shots onto one joint, and after the 5th or 6th shot, it'll explode with a burst of fire and Bastion will become immobilized for 10 seconds. The second you see it go down, you need to sprint out quickly while equipping your deadline and then mantle on top of Bastion. From here, placement of your deadline is key. You have to place the deadline on the circular center on the top of it. Once the deadline is placed, haul it back for safety and make sure your body is fully protected by a wall. Deadlines have a large 10-meter radius and will delete anything within that blast radius. If for some reason you're failing to place the deadline in time, run back to safety and just try again. Sometimes Bastion wiggling around on the ground will break the placing animation and you'll have to restart it. Bastion has 6 total legs you can shoot out, so don't try and force one that isn't placing correctly. Once the deadline goes off and Bastion goes down, you have a choice to make. Loot the Bastion or not. I recommend not looting. Your goal here isn't farming Bastion's loot, it's farming Bastion's trial score. Just move on to the next Bastion and start the fight. The sooner both are down, the sooner they will spawn. Plus, since you'll be going back and forth between spawn areas, you can always loot the Bastion later if it hasn't been scavenged already. If you brought more than 4 deadlines, from here you just rinse and repeat the first strategy. Shoot out a leg, place the deadline, blow Bastion to smithereens. It's easy, reliable, and consistent as long as you place that deadline correctly on top of Bastion. Bastion will respawn after some time, but it's hard to say how long it really takes. During this run, the Hydrodome Bastion did not respawn for well over 10 minutes after I first eliminated it. But after taking out the first pipeline Bastion, the second one came back in just about 10 minutes. And then the third pipeline Bastion respawned in just about 8 minutes. As far as the strategy goes for waiting on respawns, as a general rule, leave the area where Bastions are and find somewhere you can watch and listen from a distance for when they do respawn. This keeps you safe from scavengers that are looking to swoop some Bastion parts from you and could see you as a threat to eliminate. Stay quiet, stay hidden, and be patient. After 5 minutes or so, you can try and explore the area if you didn't see it spawn in from wherever you are. If you search the area for another 5 minutes or so and there's no Bastion to be found, go back to the other location you came from. That's what I had to do during this run. I started with the Hydrodome, then had to eliminate the Pipeline Bastion 2 times in a row. If you're using other explosives, each one functions a little bit differently, but I still recommend shooting out a leg and then throwing your explosives at that point. It's just the safer option overall, and you don't want to try and peek Bastion while its Gatling gun is unloading on a wall you're peeking. It takes only a fraction of a second for you to go down if it lights you up with some of that barrage. For Trailblazers, remember that when they're thrown, they emit a gas trail behind it that ignites after a second or two. So you want to throw it over Bastion in a way that causes a lot of that gas to cover it. The more gas you get on and around Bastion, the more damage it will do. Outside of that, just keep moving back and forth between spawn locations until the match is winding down. Ideally, you want the power generation complex extraction to be your last, given it's super close to the pipeline tower, so you can farm one last Bastion during the final minutes and still be safe to extract. But it's a 50-50 toss-up as to the last extraction with water treatment. If you get water treatment as your last extraction, make sure you leave a little early and use those adrenaline shots to get you there quick. As a general rule, I don't recommend extracting with other players, but if there's little time remaining and you may not be able to call in another elevator before the timer hits 0, you gotta take that risk. Head back to Speranza, collect your loot if you haven't already, and watch your score jump up the leaderboard. That's gonna be it for me today, y'all. Thanks for watching.